What is up, my party people? Welcome back to our first midnight beta video. Yeah, all together. So this is we're talking about the Restoration Druid. Just gonna talk about briefly my first thoughts on playing. Finally got some games in, some skirmishes. Let me just be clear before, just to preface all this. This is level 80, so we're not level 90 yet on the beta, and the pacing will not be exactly the same. It's obviously a beta, tuning is going to change, but gonna try to focus on more of the things that will be sticking when it comes to like the gameplay, how these new buttons work, the pruning and how it all feels, and just kind of the overall thoughts on how the class is, where it's going, and how I think it's going to be. So let's get into it here. So we're going to talk first off, let's talk about the ability prune. Okay, so I know obviously that is a big concern for a lot of people. The game is more simple and everything like that. Druid, Resto Druid specifically, was probably one of the most bloated class. I think it was the most bloated spec in the game in terms of total buttons, because if you count all the forms and everything, it feels fine. Your healing rotation did get kind of knocked down a bit, so ones that big abilities that you will probably feel missing is probably like Overgrowth, the Grove Guardians you don't have to hit anymore, Efflorescence you don't have to hit anymore because it's combined with Life Flume. You only have 1 NS instead of 2. I think that's about it. So we lost a couple buttons really that you're actually actively pressing, but Grove Guardians felt weird anyway. I think it was a wasted button when you're playing Wildstalker. It felt just like a wasted global a lot of the times. And so I'm kind of happy for it going down that route. So overall, it actually feels great. The healing rotation feels great. I love it. So in basic, you have your obviously Rejuve and your Life Flume are going to be your main targets. Big difference is you're only going to have 1 Life Flume now. Your Life Flume target's going to have some chunky heals, but your off targets are not going to be able to have Life Flume on it unless you're swapping them around, and you're not going to want to swap them around later on. Once you get the Apex talents, we don't have them currently because they stack up every 5 seconds and get bigger. So kind of like the old version of Budding Leaves. So you're not going to want to swap too often, but just keep that in mind that you do have that triple stack mastery, and our mastery is a lot stronger than it was previously to account for the loss in hots that we have. That we've lost some of the the passive hots and everything, symbiotic blooms. I don't even know if that counts as a hot anymore. Some of the other stuff like that. So they did buff mastery a lot, so you're going to see a very strong healing on our Druid in terms of single target throughput, especially once we get these Apex talents. Again, this one too, we haven't got a chance to test this one yet because it's not in the game. When you can consume Soul of the Forest, it causes your bloom 5 times in rapid succession. That's going to combine with Verdancy and gives you some incredibly high single target healing right off the bat. So I think, and with that said, single target healing is going to be phenomenal. Your single target, which is good. I like that there's a niche for our Druid healing, and I think it's going to be very, very good single target as long as you can keep out those hots. So, you're able to keep up 2 targets. You got the Regrowth, potentially double Rejuve as well. And your second Rejuve, your Germination, actually can just spread too because of Power of the Arc Druid. So when you do Soul of the Forest, your next Rejuve applies to 2 additional allies. So you could triple Soul of the Forest Rejuve, which is crazy to be able to do. And that feels amazing. And then the Regrowth. Regrowth, you do lose a little bit part of the rampant growth because you only have a single life instead of double. But Regrowth feels amazing because of the new talent called Nature's Bounty. Regrowth heals all other allies with Regrowth for 40% of its healing. So if you're able to keep up that Regrowth on multiple targets, and with playing tree form, you're able to kind of Regrowth a lot of targets. Your throughput is crazy high during Incarn, which is awesome. And then I combine that with some of the other talents like Abundance to give me more Regrowth healing. We obviously have some Regrowth talents up here. So you're just feeling those really chunky Regrowth heals, which feels great. And it's kind of similar to how it feels in the current version that I play in retail. And I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. I really like that when you press a heal, it feels like you're healing. So that's something that's feeling really good. On that note of just single target throughput healing, I'm going to just briefly touch on the Keeper versus Wildstalker. So they did change quite a bit here, especially because Grove Guardians is not a button you press anymore. If you don't know, Grove Guardians triggers off of Swiftmend or Wild Growth. So when you press those buttons, you get a Grove Guardian. And if you depending on some of the talents you choose, you can get 10% healing on Rejuve, Efflorescence, and Life Flume per Grove Guardian, and then an extra 5% per Grove Guardian as well. So you can have a ton of throughput healing during those Swiftmend goes, and obviously these are going to always apply to every single Soul of the Forest because when you press Swiftmend, you have those coming up there. They also changed Cenarius Might. This used to be a haste ability to just straight up 20% Swiftmend, and if you actually wanted to go down the route and really spec into all this Swiftmend stuff, you get 9% Swiftmend on Grove Inspiration. You have your periodic heals make a Dryad, the current keeper tier set to basically buff your next Swiftman to make it do more. You can cause Swiftman to cool down 25% faster, and you could play either the 30% healing on Grove Gardens. We don't have details yet, so I can't tell how much healing it is, so I don't know how worth it this is yet. But you can even take another 1 second cooldown off of Swiftman. So that is a very, very fast Swiftman, which you're gonna get a lot of really chunky heals. As you'll show, I'll show you in a game that I'm playing. At the end here, I'll show you a little gameplay example where I was actually playing Keeper, and you can see how chunky these Swiftmans are and how nice they are to have. So it's very different. It's kind of like the old Swiftman. Swiftman in, like, I feel like the current versions is more just a hot extension and Soul of the Forest, but the button itself was not a big heal. So that's a really nice change of pace here. And in general, Keeper is going to be more throughput healing with the Dream Surges and, like I said, all these Swiftman related abilities. And then Wildstalker is they're trying to focus you more on hots. So you have your Symbiotic Blooms, you have like this blanket 6% hot ability thing. You still have all of your bloom proccings, so it feels really good still. I mean, honestly, these both felt great. They just both have their own little niches. We're gonna have to wait to see how the pacing of the game is in Shuffle. My gut is saying that Keeper is gonna be better just because of the Swiftmans and combining that with Reforestation. Just based on my experience in current Shuffle and then even Dragonflight Shuffle, being able to keep up a tree form is just incredible, and how much healing you can do. You're immune to polymorph effects. You have instant cast roots. It just feels good, and it's just really great for a Shuffle environment. So I think they're both going to have use into the next expansion, which is a really good thing, because I hated, you look on the current ladder, there's nobody playing Keeper. It's just unplayable. If you might see somebody playing it, it was probably because they were playing the old tier set, which has been changed since. So yeah, that is, we're talking about the Keeper versus Wildstalker. When it comes to the class tree itself, let me see if I can point out some big changes here that are feeling good. So first one here is you're going to notice is you're going to get an extra 3% versatility off of Gift of the Wild. I like this because our Druid is kind of pigeonholed into playing Mastery, and Haste is very impactful for our Druid. So a lot of people end up playing Mastery Haste. So having this extra verse is just so nice to have on top of that, to really not feel like you're not so required to have as much verse as you normally would. So I really like that. Big one, I would say the biggest impact is low-key Forest Walk in this tree. You get 16% movement speed and 16% healing received increased for 6 seconds when you cast Regrowth on yourself. That is crazy. Or no, you just cast Regrowth. It does it to yourself. You'll see me in this video. I am booking it. I'm Mr. Broccoli booking it. And your speed running and your healing on yourself is incredibly high. Really good for self-survivability, especially when you're playing Incarn, which you all are, because there's no more Ancient of the Lore. Going over to the Spec Tree here. I mean, honestly, actually, wait, hold on. Not yet. One more thing. Heart of the Wild. I really, 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 really like this ability. Pretty much only for the cat form portion of it, but I think you'll probably find uses of it for bear form as well. You're not going to ever use this in Moonkin. Oh my god, it is so bad. Maybe in Mythic Plus when you're just doing, padding things, but this is really useful for cat form because it gives you, number one, it's 5 combo points, which means it's an automatic maim if you're running maim. 2, it's a nice powerful button that you could press while you're to help your team secure a kill. So it's a way that you don't have to spec into Shapeshifter, you don't have to spec into Convoke, you don't have to spec into Elder Druid. You can, it does make this better, but it's a way that you can just get this off without having to, and like, let's say your team is coordinating a kill and they have no trinket. This is your all in. You go in there, you press a Feral Frenzy into a maim, and you secure a kill for your team. Really, really nice to have that little bit of an impact. I've been saying it time and time again. I think healers need big offensive cooldowns to be used. They don't need super high sustained damage like a Disc Priest or a Fist Weaver or maybe a Holy Paladin, if you're gonna check out my my beta Holy Paladin video. And they need these powerful cooldowns to contribute to killing. You need agency to feel like you're actually winning the game. So that is just something that's really nice to have. You're pretty much only going to use this in cat form, maybe in bear form for survivability. From what I know, in bear form as well, if you do use this in bear form, it does stay, right? So if I use it and then I shift out, you do get to keep it. So it's basically like a little bit better of a Battle Master's trinket, which could save your butt. So I'm not going to say that's not going to be used in bear form at all, because that definitely will be used in bear form occasionally. So just be mindful that it's a nice, cool, versatile ability that you can use. All right, I think that's all I want to cover in this tree. Nothing else really changed. This stuff's all exactly the same. You might not be taking Fluid Form anymore because there's no more Interrupt. We don't have Skull Bash anymore. I'm just playing this just because the way I like to play with the cat form. But a lot of times you probably won't be playing Fluid Form. Like in Shuffle, if I'm playing Keeper, I'm probably not even going to play Fluid Form. I'll put this somewhere else. So yeah, not gonna really set in stone on these talents, by the way. This is just kind of stuff that I was messing with. And on the spec side of the tree, we have a lot of different things. Okay, so let me just give you some stuff that were big impactful changes here. We do have NS being a 1 charge instead of 2, and that is very impactful because we do have a talent called Call of the that button, which gives you NS Cyclone. Okay, so you can NS Cyclone, but it increases the cooldown by 10 seconds, but you can actually nullify that increase by taking Past the Seasons, so you still have a 1-minute cooldown NS. And if you even want to combine it even further, you can play Control of the Dream and Keeper, and that gives you an extra 15 seconds off to maybe only a 45-second NS clone to cooldown to use. So that's really cool as well. It's just for the first usage. If it's off cooldown, it kind of contributes. If you use it 15 seconds off, if it's off cooldown for 15 seconds, you'll get that 15 seconds off for the next time you use it. So that could be also another thing that, like, if we're talking about Keeper and Shuffle, having a short NS, at least the first NS Cyclone being only 45 seconds, that's pretty crazy. Really, really good to have in terms of momentum, because 1 clone could just make or break a game. All right, moving down, we have this stuff's all about the same. We have next most important one. This life trading feels great. So this is where your life bloom is actually going to spawn an efflorescence, and it moves like every 3 or 4 seconds, I think. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 seconds. I don't know exactly what it is. Doesn't really say, but yeah. So that can spawn every 5 seconds or so, which is really nice because it stays underneath you. We're not really seeing the full benefit of this yet because it's going to combine with Verdancy and Everbloom. So when you are getting this bloom effect, it should proc with the Verdancy and be massive healing to everybody in your efflorescence. Really good. Going to be really nice when in Shuffle or 3v3 environments. And then Grove Gardens, again, like I said, is triggered off of that, off of either your Swiftmend or your Wild Growth. So you can double stack them there. One note, you can actually use Convoke with this and get multiple off and get up to like 5 up at a time, I think, which is pretty interesting. So maybe that will come into play. I don't know yet. Power Dark Druid we talked about already. That's going to be really nice to be able to, you can get double Swiftmends off or double Rejuves off onto other targets to help you out. And the Rejuve is actually, the Regrowth is really nice as well, because if you spread that Regrowth to that 3rd target, you get good uses out of Nature's Bounty for the subsequent Regrowth. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. We do just have a blanket Swiftmend buff one. So again, Swiftmend is just really feeling like a very powerful heal, which is unlike the previous expansion. So that's a nice change. Regrowth increased crit chance, and we combine that with Abundance and the improved Regrowth. So your Regrowth is going to be doing some juicy healing with that, and because of the crits. Okay, Call the Yellow Druid, it's the same thing, just different icon. Ysera's gift is down here. This is something I really want to take, but this is really terrible. I really hate that they pigeonholed this here. They kind of forced you to take Renewing Surge because they didn't want to connect this. I don't know why. Because they connected on this side. But you are forced. You're really very likely going to be wanting Shapeshifter. At least the current place in the game. Obviously, things are going to change. Mana is very important, as you'll see in these games. So yeah, you're gonna want this as an edge, because with this I have an edge over pretty much every healer. Maybe like Shaman. I think Resto Shaman can if they're playing efficiently, they'll be able to outmana you. But feels really good compared to, because there's a lot of classes that very fast. Monk, Priest, both Priest specs I've seen pretty fast, as well as Paladin. So just something to keep an eye on there. Unfortunately, Ysera's gift is down here. I would love to swap this out for Ysera's gift. We'll see. And then also we need to do more testing on. Oh, I would most likely not have called the Yellow Druid either, so you can even take Waking Dream. I'll have to do more testing once we have the maybe Liveliness. I don't know. We'll have to do more testing once we have the details working, so we can check it out. Yeah, and then Thriving Vegetation. Obviously, I would love to take that, but we'll have to see, because we might be more regrowth heavy than the Rejuve of the previous iteration. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And the PvP talents, definitely going to be sticking. Our main change is really just going to be the NS Cyclone. That is the only change. Early Spring gets more value, just because you do have your Grove Guardians connected to them. And again, if you are playing Keeper, when you press that Wild Growth, you're getting 10% more healing on your Efflow, Rejuve, and Life Bloom, as well as a blanket 5% more healing when you do that. So just make sure that keep that in mind, and that's why you definitely want to be pairing that with Master Shapeshifter, because you get more mana regen, which makes you feel like, allows you to press that Early Spring a lot more often. So it's gonna be really, really nice throughput healing. Finally, I want to talk about potentially the use of Disentanglement. I haven't used this yet, but this might be really insane because of how Efflorescence moves. So if you put this on a warrior, for example, they kind of will just have infinite mobility, right? You don't have snares. So that could be kind of insane. So I haven't really got a chance to try that out yet, but that's something I'm very much looking into trying more. So, because that seems kind of broken. That's like the Hallowed Ground, I think it was called, for Holy Paladins. Kind of busted. It got removed for a reason, so I can imagine that might be problematic as well. All right, I think I talked about all that. Yeah, that's kind of all the changes there. There was anything else gameplay-wise I think I want to talk about? I don't think so. So let's just go into here. I want to just show you guys one example of a game, of a little 3v3 skirmish that I was playing. So gameplay is going to be very, very similar to at least for me, the current version of retail version. So you're pressing your, you're getting your rejuves up. And like I talked about, the single life loom is going to be your biggest change. I am playing Keeper, just so you know, here in this game. So you're going to see a lot more direct healing than the HOTS. So pressing Star Shards on cooldown, popping my Incarn Tree. So as you see, you're going to get a little bit of a trank pop there off of the Dryad, which is nice. And then just spamming those potential regrowths. So you got Innervate. These are just the new Germination icon with Soul of the Forest. Oh, you know what it is? They made it so that you can see which rejuves are sold. Oh, that's actually really nice. I just picked up on that. Okay, so we have full hot, so even throw in an early spring there. I go for a trinket. This comp actually did a crazy amount of damage in the opener here. So, but even with so, I am pumping the heals like crazy. Even at time to throw in some rats there. The hots fall off, but the healing feels phenomenal off of our Druid. I really, really like it. And I like it because, yes, it's strong, but it also has a weakness in that it's very single target heavy. You're going to probably be forced to swap your life looms around a lot, and that's going to add an extra layer of skill to outplay the Druid. So being able to either, purge that one life loom or force swaps on the life loom is going to be pretty crazy, because you have your mastery locked to your life loom. You have so the big Swiftman here. Actually, that was not a big Swiftman, but I get a big NS here, maybe? No? The Soul of ours rejuves, and then just spam those regrowths. Just look how chunky those regrowths are out of it. I actually didn't get the biggest Swiftman as I thought I was going to get. But just the healing, I can't express enough how nice the chunkiness of the healing is. Like, this was probably the highest damage game I've seen. That's why I wanted to pick this one, to show you guys some of the throughput. And I'm also not playing the best talents. I think I was playing some like Germis and Arius talents and stuff like that to test them out. But again, getting those regrowths just feels so freaking satisfying. You cast a heal and it actually does healing. So, see him pumping out here. Still rotting down. The Hots doing okay. Hots are going to fall off here. One thing you will note, again, you don't have overgrowth, so it's going to be a little bit hard. And again, I think it's really good, a really balanced way to balance our healing, that in a way that we have very, very strong healing, but if our hots fall off, we're exposed as a weakness. So we want to make sure keeping those hots up as much as we can. Go for an early spring, because I know I was going to get silence. I think they end up just killing this guy. Nope, not yet. Calling the DK, spamming those regrowths. I'm just obsessed with how strong these regrowths are, and I love it. Okay, they got a purge there off my life loom, just casting some rats, Star Surges in there to make sure keeping that Forest Guardian up as possible, and just free casting more rats. And that's a nice thing, at least if you are going to be playing Keeper, you can at least do a little bit of damage off of these regrowths, I think, or these rats. So I got another tree form proc. Thank goodness for all these tree form procs, because this damage is crazy. Okay, throwing in multiple hots, getting purged a bit. Get a Swiftman. Look at that Swiftman, about 40% of his HP right there. And then we go for massive regrowth. Throwing rats in there, clear casting, pop them up again, spam regrowth cast. For Trank over here on the side. Trank still feels very meaningful, which I love. And then we're going to reposition here for a clone. Kicked. Pushing there for a stun instead. Hopefully they get some more adaptations on the UI for those nameplates. Okay, big Swiftman for a rejuve there. And Soul of the Forest rejuve, and then just spamming regrowths. Yep, more regrowths. More regrowths. So if you guys are currently playing the Ancient of the Lord build on retail, you're probably this is going to be different for you, but this is exactly how I'm playing on retail. So this is going to be a very smooth transition, because it actually is better. I think it's better than the current version. The trade-off was that you lost like those symbiotic blooms on clear casting, which was really crazy actually. But now you're going to be able to actually have a lot more meaningful healing. Hopefully this sticks around. Look, again, Swiftman. Ugh, this was a long game. Jeez. Big juicy Swiftman. Go for a clone. I think we end up securing the kill with this. I push in there. Go for a bash off. And half clone. Nope, dude's in a turtle. Still has more. Went to go try to clone him low. Didn't get it. Got to repop all those hots. Pre-skinned him. Thought he was going to go for trap. He actually, the tree ate it. It's nice. You can still, by the way, you could still grip to your tree ints, by the way, even though they're not like a casted ability. Holy smokes, this damage is pumping here. Gotta get that life loom back up on him. Get the life loom. I go for NS without a life loom. That was a big mistake. There's a life loom. Maybe I didn't see it. Yeah, going for the NS with that was pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, we end up getting another, fortunately, we got another reforestation proc, but that just kind of solidifies that reasoning I was talking about why I think Keeper actually probably will be the go-to in terms of shuffle, because being able to just instant cast those regrowths because of how powerful they are, it's just going to be game breaking. And playing Keeper, you'll have much more uptime, much higher uptime on those incarns because of the rapid swift mending. So. The game is still not over. I keep thinking he's dead because I'm looking at his frames. His frames are bugged because of feigned death. I think this game is still going on. Let's fast forward a little bit. Oh, talk about mana here, by the way. I was ooming. This damage was actually just so high I didn't have time to do anything in cat form. Like, I think it came down to the point I had to go cat form or just start trying to, like, even if it was just getting off a rip or something, just to get some extra mana. I don't even know if we win this one, to be honest. Okay, regrow. Yep, Swiftmend. Alright, now we kill. And then regrowth, Swiftmend, perfect. All right, so hopefully you guys got a gist. I didn't expect that game to be that long, but hopefully that gives you guys like a rundown. I am very optimistic on our Druid. It's actually my favorite healer so far. I'm playing on beta. It is virtually feels unchanged. A couple abilities you're missing here and there, but like the general gameplay is not as confusing because there's not as many hots and not as many uptime on hots, and Swiftmend feels better, which means you don't have to put up as many hots. It just feels better. I think they did a very good job on this. Hopefully we just continue to test, and we'll see how the pacing goes on max level. But that's what I got for now, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you stuck around this whole video, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.